guys, in today's video we're going to make a flamingo cake topper. So this cake topper I actually made in a Facebook Live actually last year, and we'd not had chance until now to shorten the video and get it onto the YouTube channel for you guys. But here it is. We're going to use the Saracino modeling paste. It's full of cocoa butter, which means it does set hard when it cools down. It gets quite soft when it's quite warm. I like to use it. I do like it. It actually tastes quite nice, although I don't really eat the models, but there we go. So I'm using pre-coloured ones just to save me the time of mixing in the food colouring myself. And I'm starting with the kind of turquoisey kind of colour. So we want to pinch off like a Malteser size piece roughly. And I've got a ball that we're going to roll out for the base. Now the size of the ball is up to you. The bigger the base, the sturdier it's going to be, but obviously the weightier it's going to be as well. I'm going to flatten it slightly. I'm using some polystyrene underneath to hold it in place while we work on it. And then I'm just going to press in. Now you can use a balling tool. You don't have to use your finger, guys. It's just to show you that if you don't have a balling tool, you can use your finger. And we're just going to put like some ridges around. So it looks like this is like the water base, and it's like the ripples in the water where the flamingo is standing. Go for whichever is easier for you guys. So the wider the base, the more easily it will balance, guys, when you take the polystyrene off it. Now I've left the polystyrene on mine, but you might want to at some point take that off, especially when the model is set, and then you can cut off any skewer that's going to stick out below. So it's just a wooden kebab skewer. So this is the kind that you would put through your kebabs for the barbecue and things. So it should be food safe should this stick, but you're not going to really eat the topper, to be honest. I wouldn't anyway. So I'm pushing it through to the bottom of my polystyrene. I'm just going to mark whereabouts it comes to. Now I have used a food pen rather than a marker pen, so it's an edible pen that I've used just in case I accidentally get it on the paste and we're marking it. So this is so I know how much of the kebab skewer to cover in my pink. So we've got pale pink, we've rolled it thin. We're going to wrap it around here. So this is going to become the leg. So it's just going to go down to that mark we made, and it goes really far up at the moment, but we can trim that down. So just rub it on the edge where the seam is. So it's because I've kind of rolled it a little bit, it's come further down than that black mark. So we're just going to cut some off. And then we're going to work out how tall we want the legs to be. So it's up to you whether you want really long legs, really short legs. You're just going to run the knife through it and then pull off the top bit of the pink. I'm going to put a tiny bit of water in that hole. And then we're going to push the kebab skewer into that hole. And about halfway up the pink, the pale pink, we're going to add like a tiny little sausage of pale pink, just for like a knobbly knee that it's going to have. Now, because the legs are quite thin and there's quite a lot of weight on the body, if you want, you can add a polystyrene ball inside. Now, this will prevent the body sliding down the skewer. It does mean, though, that you're definitely not going to be able to eat it with the polystyrene ball. And I've taken a piece of paste, so the modeling paste in like a fuchsia colour. It's slightly bigger than the size of the ball that I used, and you're just going to roll it out. The ball's about 5 centimetre ball as well, guys, roughly. Okay, roll it in your hand so it covers the ball, and then try and get one end sort of pinched so it becomes more like a teardrop shape, and the pinched end will become the tail. And in case you're wondering what the stars are in the corner of the video, I apologise. There's something that come on in the Facebook Lives when people send us stars through the Facebook videos, and we've just forgotten to edit them out of this video. So apologies, guys. So it's going to have just one leg, standing on one leg, this one. So I'm going to make sure that this is pushed in the centre of the underneath of my body. So I'm going to give it a bit of force down that. And the second leg, because it's going to be bent, we're going to need a piece of wire inside, and we're going to bend it to the shape of the leg. So we've got a bend for sort of the back of the knee. Would you call it its knee? It kind of bends backwards, doesn't it, to our knees. And then we're going to bend it again where the foot is going to go. Okay, and we're going to cover this in paste. So again, we're not going to eat this one. You can do the leg without the wire if you've got plenty of time to create a leg and let it dry and then stick it on the flamingo. Because it was all done in a Facebook Live, I didn't really have any drying time, so I needed to do this with extra support inside. So like I say, this one now is not going to be eaten because it's got polystyrene ball in and it's got that piece of wire in. So I'm just putting a bit of the kind of turquoisey watercolour around the base of the leg. It's just going to help stick the leg to the water section. So we're just pressing in marks where we want the wings to go. And then we've got a ball for the head. Now, if you've got too much paste, don't worry, because you can just trim the neck down. Okay, so I'm rolling it, so it's getting thinner, but I want to leave one end where the head's going to be a little bit chunkier. And then the other end, I'm flattening and pressing to the front of the body. I'm pressing it really firmly. And I think we're going to have this one so it's kind of sleeping. If you're not sure how their necks bend, just Google pictures of flamingos, and they'll be in all different positions for you guys to see. You can have it so it's upright as well, but you just have to watch how much weight is in the head, because if the head itself is very heavy, the neck won't stay rigid. So I've pressed the head kind of against the body. We've kind of put a little indentation in around the eye area, and I'm filling the eye area back in with a piece of the same colour paste, but it just makes the eye more defined, so it's going to be a closed eye. So let's take a little bit of black, rolling it nice and thin, so this can be the eyelashes, and this can go across the middle of the eye. And we'll just trim it where we want it to end. Okay, so we're taking a piece of white, and we're going to kind of pinch it and pull it so it comes out in kind of 3 places. So above sort of what will be the beak, below the beak area, and then out to the side towards like the eye and the cheek area. And then for the beak, I'm taking probably Malteser size piece again of the pale pink, and we're making a kind of teardrop shape, but we've flattened it a little bit. And then I'm going to put some black modelling paste around the end. Roll it really thin, the black, so that when you do wrap it around the end of the pink, it doesn't stick out too much. And your other options, if you prefer not to do it with paste, is you can use like black food colouring or an edible pen and colour the end in black if you prefer. And I'm going to stick it onto the edge of the face. So I think its beak curves downwards. And when I made this in the Facebook Live, a few people thought I'd put its head on upside down, not just the beak, but the whole head. I think it's kind of the weird way that I twisted its neck into this position that made it look a bit weird. Okay, so press that on. Make sure it's firmly attached. If you do the beak really big, you might find the weight doesn't want to stay on. It's going to pull it off if it's very heavy. So just watch how big you're going with that beak. So we want like little carrot shapes or long teardrops that we flatten a little bit for extra feathers. If you want the feathers to stick out a bit more, that is. And we're just going to place them along the wing. And I'm actually going to just run the line in sort of the middle of the beak with my pen, just to define it so you can see the top and the bottom of the beak a bit easier. And back to our feathers. I think I prefer them sticking out more than when I've just drawn them in with the Dresden tool. So just keep going until you've filled that wing area. And obviously then you can do the same on the other side. And you can see with the one on the right hand side in the background, I kind of played around with the shape of the neck a bit, so it's slightly different position wise to this one. So have a bit of a play around. That one I wanted, in the background I wanted its beak to look like it was kind of roughing up its feathers a bit. And this one, guys, we did with the neck standing. So apologies it isn't all in the footage for this one. I actually ran a wire through the neck to try and hold it up. So you can see the rest of the wire kind of poking out where the beak is going to be. And I'll leave that bit poking out because I can add the beak to it. And this one we tried with the white to pull it further back than the eye itself, just so I could see what looked better. So when you're doing something, you don't have to make it the same each time. If you're making more than one, try and make a few little differences, and that way you can decide which way you prefer. So this one, we put like an eye socket in with a balling tool, and then we filled it with white paste again. And then I put a thin bit of black just around the outside edge, but it went a little bit too thick. So too thick around that. So we go a bit thinner this time. And then I'm going to use my white edible pen just to try and draw a dot or a little highlight in the eye. So the same again for the beak. Start with a teardrop, squash it slightly, and then bend it a bit so it becomes like hooked shaped. This one we're going to use the pen for. And of course you can put an eye in the other side. And then if you want to dust and add any different bits of pink to it anyway, you can do. So I'm just going around the knee area with a little bit of edible pink powder. So I'm still keeping it edible even though I'm not going to eat these guys. And if you do want to catch the actual Facebook Lives, guys, we actually run them now each Tuesday morning over on my Facebook page at 10:30 a.m. UK time. So there we go. 3 different flamingos, and I made these as part of like an animal series that we did where we did lots of different animal ones. So do check out my other videos on YouTube, or feel free to join us for the Facebook Lives. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like the video, be sure to hit the thumbs up button and leave me a comment below. You can see more of my tutorials by clicking on the images on screen now. If you haven't already, make sure you click the subscribe button to stay up to date with my future tutorials. There are also links in the description box below where you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and more.